Tonight, we slow the chase. Feel your shoulders ease, the breath settling into your chest, the mind loosening its grip on the next notification, the next number, the next promise of more. You've been faithful to the grind, yet the ground under your feet still feels unsteady. The calendar is full and the heart is tired. I see that. I honor that. And here, for a few minutes, we step out of the noise to ask a different kind of question. The kind that doesn't shout, the kind that listens for an answer that has been waiting inside you for a long time. What if wealth is not something you chase, but something that comes when you stop running long enough to choose wisely? What if money is not a trophy, but a mirror, reflecting the quality of your decisions, the steadiness of your inner life, the integrity of your daily steps? Solomon, the ancient king, whose name became a synonym for discernment, did not ask for riches first. He asked for understanding. He knew that gold without wisdom is a burden, and wisdom without gold remains wisdom, quietly compounding until provision becomes the natural echo of a well-ordered life. Transform the way you pursue wealth by replacing hustle chasing with Solomonic discernment, so money becomes a byproduct of wise decisions, not the prize you're endlessly chasing. Let that sentence rest in your body for a moment. Notice what softens. Notice what resists. The nervous system is honest. When it lives in fight or flight, it demands quick wins and short-term relief. When it feels safe, it allows the prefrontal mind to widen, to see patterns, to weigh outcomes, to choose the path that compounds. Practical spirituality meets emotional neuroscience right here. Peace is not passive. It is the condition that makes intelligent action possible. You may feel behind. You may worry that you missed your window, that you took a wrong turn too long ago to come back with dignity. Stay with me. You are not behind. You are hurried, you are not broken, you are overloaded, you are not late, you are running someone else's race. Hear the cadence, not behind, hurried, not broken, overloaded, not late, misdirected. The correction begins within, where pace is chosen and priorities are planted. We will speak to your mind with clear principles, and we will speak to your heart with kindness, because both must move together if anything is to last. Imagine a field at dawn, cool air, damp soil, the kind of quiet that lets you hear your own thoughts. In one direction is a bright city promising faster. In the other is a simple path promising truer. The city is loud, glittering, and impatient. The path is quiet, steady, and strong. Solomon's wisdom is that path. It will not flatter you. It will grow you. It will ask you to choose the compass before the map, the seed before the robe, the plumb line before the palace. It will ask for order, and in exchange, it will give you overflow. There is a reason the old texts speak of counsel, of measure, of timing. Decision quality compounds like interest. A single wise choice, repeated often, becomes structure. On your calendar, in your accounts, in your character, and structure calms the body. When your days have a rhythm, your amygdala loosens its alarm. Your breath lengthens, and your eyes lift far enough to see second-order effects. You stop buying relief and start building results. You stop answering fear and start listening to wisdom. The hustle may still be busy, but the heart is no longer frantic. You will hear hard truths in this journey, but you will not be shamed by them. We will say gently and firmly that wealth gained too quickly often slips through unsteady hands, that lifestyle built before assets becomes a quiet trap, that debt taken lightly rearranges who holds the power in your life. We will also say, with hope and clarity, that small, honest actions, repeated 100 times, can change the slope of your future, that diversified streams make you resilient against the weather, that generosity is not leakage, but alignment, shaping who you become as your means increase. From this first breath together, fix a simple image in your mind. From field to treasury, first the plow, wisdom, then the seed, habits, then the fence, risk controls, then the granary, diversification. Then and only then, the palace lifestyle. Let the order soothe you, let the order lead you. We are not rushing, we are rooting, we are not chasing, we are choosing. Stay present, stay open, and let your inner pace drop until it matches something older than fear and wiser than noise. If you're ready, place a hand over your chest and notice the rise and fall. Whisper to yourself, quietly enough that only you can hear it. I will pursue wisdom first. I will let money follow. I will build what remains when the noise fades. Now we begin. There is a quiet shift that happens when the heart stops bargaining with money and starts listening for wisdom. The breath drops lower, the eyes soften, the mind clears like a window wiped clean after a storm. In that clarity, a different order becomes visible. First, the understanding that guides, then the gains that follow. Solomon asked not for treasure, but for a discerning heart. And that request still echoes across the centuries because it names the deepest leverage a human being can hold. Wisdom steadies the hands before they touch the gold. Wisdom aligns the path before the feet begin to run. When wisdom comes first, the pace becomes humane, and wealth stops feeling like a chase and starts arriving like a harvest that was always meant to ripen. Think of money as a late arrival in the story. It enters after the groundwork is finished. It reflects the quality of choices already made, the soundness of structures already built, the quiet courage to delay applause until foundations are sure. Ancient lines say that the true blessing enriches without adding sorrow. Many have tasted the opposite. Sudden gains laced with anxiety, quick wins followed by quicker losses. The body knows the difference. One brings a long exhale, the other keeps the jaw tight through the night. Wisdom does not hurry the harvest, and because it does not hurry, it does not harm. The nervous system sits at the center of this. When fear drives the day, the inner alarms flood the bloodstream, and the mind narrows to whatever promises relief right now. When safety is restored, the higher mind returns, and with it the capacity to weigh long horizons. Practical spirituality meets emotional neuroscience in this simple reality. Peace is not the absence of effort. Peace is the platform that makes effort intelligent. A calm body allows discerning thought. Discerning thought allows clean decisions. Clean decisions create outcomes that do not punish the soul that produced them. Picture a traveler at a crossroads before sunrise. One road glitters with shortcuts and claims of ease. The other is unadorned, firm underfoot, leading through honest work and patient counsel. The first is paint. The second is engine. The painted road demands constant attention to appearances. The engine road invests in what is unseen yet decisive. Bearings, alignment, the slow calibration of motives. Solomon's wisdom belongs to that second road. The compass is chosen before the map. The map is chosen before the gold. The order matters because order multiplies results. There is a simple rhythm that forms in lives shaped by this order. Morning begins with words that realign the heart. The pages of Proverbs or Ecclesiastes become a mirror that shows motives without shaming them and options without confusing them. A humble notebook receives the day's decisions. Options are named. Criteria are named. Risks are named. The quiet why beneath each choice is named. Over time, the pages turn into a record of discernment and a library of patterns. Later, in the presence of a wiser friend, the same questions are explored again with patience and honesty, not as a performance, as a practice of safety and truth. In that rhythm, something beautiful happens. Money steps back from the role of master and returns to the role of servant. Decisions are no longer weighed by the size of the prize, but by the integrity of the path. The body can feel the difference. The shoulders lower because the game is no longer survival by speed. The breath steadies because the outcome no longer rests on luck or hype. The eyes lift because endurance has replaced panic. This does not make life easy. It makes life ordered, and ordered life is lighter to carry. Often the greatest shift is the simplest. The question at the center of the day changes. Instead of asking what pays the fastest, the heart begins asking what choice remains wise when the rush wears off. Instead of asking what gains the loudest approval, the heart begins asking what aligns with truth when no one is watching. Wealth shaped this way grows as a side effect of clean decisions repeated across seasons. The speed may vary, the direction does not. Discernment also protects. It hears the voice of shiny distraction and answers with stillness. It sees the shortcut that weakens character and smiles without bitterness as it lets it pass. It notices the urge to spend for relief and pauses long enough to remember that relief is not peace. Relief is short, peace is strong. Relief is loud, peace is deep. This is not moralizing, this is design. A nervous system that is grounded makes better agreements with reality. Better agreements with reality compound into freedom. There is kindness in this way. It does not shame the past. It thanks the lessons and carries forward what is true. It honors the part of you that worked hard to protect what mattered, even when the method was hurried. Then it refines the method. Decision by decision, the soul learns to wait for the inner yes that is both quiet and firm. Decision by decision, the hands learn to release what comes with hidden sorrow. With time, the outcomes begin to match the inner life, and that harmony is a kind of prosperity all its own. Let the old image settle in the mind, a compass held steady while the light grows, the map folded for now while bearings are found. The gold still in the earth, patient and unthreatened, because the one who will one day carry it is learning how to carry it without being carried away by it. If wealth is a mirror, then let it reflect wisdom. If wealth is a harvest, then let it answer good seed. If wealth is a guest, then let it arrive at a house that is already in order and at peace. A final question rises like a bell at dawn. If the money motive fell silent for a single day and only wisdom spoke, which path would your life choose today? There is a wisdom that begins in the soil and only later raises its walls. The morning field is cool and honest, asking for order rather than hurry. In that quiet, the old truth rises with gentle authority. Prepare what produces before you decorate what displays. First the roots, then the fruit. First the engine, then the paint. Wealth shaped by this order grows like a season that knows its timing, patient, proportionate, without violence to the heart that tends it. Many know the ache of the opposite path. The paycheck arrives and is already promised to comforts that will not last. A new upgrade gives a short lift and a long bill. The mind spins through options while the chest feels tight, as if the very air were taxing each breath. Lifestyle creep is not a moral failure. It is the body asking to feel okay and reaching for whatever is closest. The problem is not desire. The problem is sequence. Relief arrives quickly and disappears quickly. Provision arrives slowly and stays. Ancient lines point to a steady way. Prepare your work in the open field, and only after that build your house. The order is the lesson. Production before presentation. Capacity before comfort. When the work that generates value is prepared and protected, the house that shelters your life can rise without strain and without fear. Sequence is not decorative. Sequence is structural. It decides whether the future arrives as overflow or as pressure. Assets come first because assets feed you when you are tired and defend you when the weather changes. Skills sharpened to serve real needs. Tools that multiply those skills. A cash reserve that buys time so your best thinking can breathe. Productive ventures that pay you while you sleep or while you rest or while you learn the next craft. These are quiet companions. They do not shout. They do not need applause. They simply work. And because they work, they make life lighter. Safety is not a feeling that falls from the sky. Safety is a structure that calms the body. When the reserve can carry 6 to 12 months of the simple life, the nervous system loosens its grip on panic, the eyes regain their horizon, and choices lengthen their time frame. The prefrontal mind returns, weighing long paths with patience. Emotional neuroscience meets practical spirituality here. Peace becomes the platform for intelligent action. Anxiety says spend to stop the ache. Wisdom says build so the ache does not return. There is a kind rule for lifestyle that keeps joy free of regret. Let comfort rise only on the shoulders of durable cash flow. When income grows in a way that can endure, allow lifestyle to grow less than half that change, and allow the rest to strengthen the fields that feed you. Spoken plainly, this means the new gain builds more capacity than comfort. The body can feel the difference. Pride gets quieter, gratitude gets louder, and gratitude carries better than pride ever could. The old temptation will appear again and again. Prove success now and deal with the cost later. Buy the silk robe before the harvest. Smile for the show and borrow for the smile. Debt often enters through that door wearing a friendly face and carrying a small key that fits every lock. It offers speed and takes sovereignty. It offers relief and takes resilience. A life arranged in the wrong order invites that trade and pays for it in sleep and in freedom. There is another way, gentle and strong. Build the field until it bears, without your constant push. Build the store of calm until storms feel like weather and not like judgment. Build the assets that do not need you to pretend. Then let the house rise. Not as a mask for insecurity, but as an honest shelter for a soul at peace. Enjoyment becomes clean when it is carried by capacity. Beauty becomes simple when it does not need to argue with the ledger. Celebration becomes light when it is paid for by the work that came before it. The world will sometimes ask for the proof before the substance. Friends may not notice the quiet investments or the slow practice, or the evenings spent learning instead of posting. That is all right. Fields are not loud. Seeds are not impressive. Fences are not glamorous. Yet these are the things that keep a life together when the winds change. The house that rises after them does not apologize for its joy and does not tremble when the market coughs. This chapter rests on a single question that turns like a key in the door of the heart. Which expense would a farmer delay until after the harvest? Another question follows it with equal kindness. Which investment in your field would make the next season less fragile and the season after that more generous? These are not demands. These are invitations to imagine a steadier rhythm, a quieter pride, a deeper kind of wealth that does not ring hollow when the house lights are off. A quieter chemistry begins inside when sequence is honored. Slow reward replaces spike reward. Deep satisfaction replaces restless craving. The body chooses steadiness over spectacle, and the mind grows patient enough to wait for real results. This is not a denial of pleasure. It is the protection of pleasure. It keeps joy from costing tomorrow and keeps tomorrow from stealing today. Field before house is more than a slogan. It is a posture, a way of carrying yourself through seasons. It speaks in the tone of someone who knows their value, whether anyone is watching or not. It walks past the glittering road without bitterness and takes the steady path without apology. And one day, almost without notice, the door of a simple, strong house opens to welcome a life that is already rich where it matters most. There is a weight to honest work that holds a life steady, the kind that does not glitter at first glance, yet keeps its promise through changing weather. Character is that weight. Capital is the echo that follows it. When the inner life is straight, money learns straight lines. When the inner life is divided, money multiplies the split. This is why the rush to tactics often exhausts the heart while producing brief spikes and long valleys. The soul knows it is being asked to sprint on sand. The feet move, the view changes, yet the ground gives way beneath each step. Character turns sand into stone. Then capital has somewhere solid to land. The body tells the story with surprising accuracy. When hurry drives the day, the breath sits shallow near the collarbones, and thoughts flicker like streetlights in a storm. The brain narrows its vision to what relieves right now and forgets what nourishes tomorrow. The promise of something easy can feel like oxygen, and that feeling is real even when the promise is not. When steadiness returns, the breath drops into the belly, the shoulders release their quiet ache, and the mind widens enough to see second and third steps. Emotional neuroscience has a simple way of naming this: A grounded nervous system gives the thinking mind room to weigh consequences. A panicked nervous system makes even good options look dangerous and even bad options look kind. There is an old line that honors small gain gathered with patience. It tells the truth about compounding without using the language of charts. A single upright action, repeated across seasons, becomes more than a habit. It becomes identity. The person who shows up to serve with integrity becomes a servant of value. The person who keeps the promise made to themselves becomes a person whose word creates outcomes. Money may not arrive with applause, yet it begins to behave like a loyal companion, drawn to the space where order and dignity live. Every life holds a handful of actions that quietly move revenue and quietly build equity, the sort of actions that are rarely dramatic and almost always repeatable. Reaching out to help where help creates value, practicing a skill until it becomes graceful under pressure, shaping a system that saves minutes every day and hours every month. None of these feel like breakthroughs. Together, they feel like momentum. Together, they turn a scattered schedule into a rhythm that the heart can trust. Over time, the rhythm becomes a kind of music. Less noise, more song, and the workday stops sounding like an alarm and starts sounding like a craft. Streaks matter, not because the world is counting, but because the soul learns its own cadence by walking it. There is a quiet pride that grows when yesterday and today rhyme with each other. The mind notices that progress survives bad weather. The body notices that good choices can be made even on ordinary days. And with each aligned day, the inner voice that once bargained for excitement begins to ask for consistency instead. The old chase loses power. The new pace gains depth. This is how peace begins to compound alongside profit, not after it. Integrity is leverage disguised as restraint. It says no to what costs too much of the inner life and yes to what grows slowly and lasts. It declines the small gain that would complicate the soul and accepts the slower path that will one day simplify the future. Diligence is energy paired with aim. It keeps attention where it actually creates results. The two together protect wealth before it arrives and protect the heart after it does. Without them, quick income becomes heavy. With them, even modest income feels light because it can be carried without pretending to be someone else. The surface of the world often rewards spectacle, yet the deep structure of reality keeps rewarding truth. A polished pitch can spark a moment, but a refined craft sustains a decade. The human brain is wired to trust coherence. When story, behavior, and outcome align, people sense it without needing to analyze it. They return to the place where they were treated like humans and not opportunities. They recommend the name that kept its promises. They invest in the work that worked for them. Character becomes a magnet. Capital becomes a follower. There is also a quieter metric that can guide a life into prosperity that does not punish the one living it. Call it return on peace. Not all profit is equal once it reaches the body. Some income brings agitation as a hidden fee. Some growth requires a performance that drains the very person who must perform it. When the only scoreboard is money, the cost hides in the nervous system and in the hours stolen from sleep. When peace holds a seat at the table, decisions begin to feel honest again. Progress may slow, yet satisfaction deepens. The face relaxes, the home grows lighter, the work keeps making sense. Picture a plumb line hanging beside a rising wall. The string looks simple, but it governs the whole structure. Each brick that matches it strengthens the next. Each brick that fights it quietly weakens what follows. Character is that line. It keeps the weight true. It keeps the angles kind. It prevents the slow lean that looks harmless until the storm arrives. When capital enters a house built this way, it does not need to hire anxiety as a guard. It can rest where it lives. It can serve the purpose that called it. The invitation of this chapter is not a command. It is a mirror held with compassion. Look at the path that brought you here and notice the few actions that, when repeated, lift everything else. Notice the choices that give you back your breath and your honesty at the same time. Notice the work that dignifies your name in your own eyes. Then imagine that small, honest action repeated 100 times. Imagine the craft that would emerge, the trust that would gather around it, the resilience that would meet you on mornings when you wake under gray skies. Slowly, a different kind of wealth begins to appear. It walks with its head level and its hands open. It is not afraid of scrutiny because it was not built on hurry. It does not need noise because the work itself speaks. It does not need to be defended because it is aligned with the person who made it. Character first, capital next. This is not a slogan. It is the architecture of a life that can carry blessing without breaking under it. And when blessing rests on such a life, it tends to stay. Some teachings arrive like thunder, others arrive like steady rain. This one is rain. It soaks quietly into the ground and makes everything green. The heart that once tried to control every future learns a kinder art, not prediction, preparation, not certainty, structure. The wisdom is simple and deep. Spread what matters so that one failure does not become a famine. Feed your tomorrow from more than one field. Warm your home from more than one fire. Sleep because your life no longer stands on a single beam. There is an old counsel that whispers across the ages to divide a portion to 7 and even to 8. The words carry a patience that refuses panic. Weather will come. Markets will breathe in and out. Seasons will bring both ripe fruit and empty branches. Safety is not the absence of risk. Safety is a design that keeps risk from ruling the house. When that design is honored, the body notices. The breath grows deeper. The jaw loosens. The gaze lifts beyond the next headline. Emotional neuroscience names the shift. The nervous system stops scanning for threats and returns to thoughtful attention. With that return, decisions stretch again across years instead of minutes. Picture a river that meets the sea through many mouths. One channel may silt up, another may surge, yet the whole keeps moving. Prosperity shaped by multiplicity feels like this. It is not flash. It is not brittle. It bends and still holds. In such a life, a reserve of simple cash sits quietly like winter grain, buying time when storms arrive. A learned skill earns on demand, not through frenzy, but through usefulness. A small venture hums in the background, turning value into steady exchange. Ownership of broad markets gathers the growth of many hands. Land or dwellings breathe rent that is not loud, yet is loyal. Dependable notes pay like a metronome. A small corner remains for asymmetric possibility, the kind that risks little and can win much. And a portion is set aside for generosity that shapes posture and relationships, because the open hand changes the kind of person wealth is making of you. This is not a maze. It is a village built with care. Each storehouse holds a different kind of grain. Each has a door that opens when another stays shut. A life becomes light to carry when no single storehouse carries the whole winter. And there is a quiet guideline that protects the village. No river carries almost all the water. No voice shouts the only song. When one stream tries to grow until it owns the landscape, wisdom remembers the old fires that seemed eternal and then went out. A balanced life does not refuse success. It simply refuses dependence on one success. The surface world often praises the daring bet and the hero who foresaw what no one else could see. Yet the deeper pattern keeps rewarding the one who built for many possible tomorrows. The mind that needs to be right about everything is a tired mind. The mind that builds so it does not need to be right about anything in particular is a calm mind. Calm minds decide better. Better decisions compound. Compounding slowly becomes abundance that does not tremble at change. There is comfort in numbers when they are written with love for language. So hear it in plain words. One stream that feeds you can dry. Two can struggle together. Many can take turns carrying the weight. A life grows steadier when no single river holds more than about a third of the flow. A life grows kinder when some portion is devoted to giving, not as image but as alignment. The soul that learns to give while still small learns to govern when large. This is not mysticism without ground. It is the way reputations form, networks bond, and doors open in hard years because someone remembers how they were treated in easy ones. Multiplication of sources is not the only protection. Understanding is the fence around them. Know what you hold and why. Know how each part behaves when weather turns. Know what can be sold without regret and what must be kept because it feeds the core of your days. The brain asks for this clarity because clarity calms it. Ambiguity makes the inner alarms ring at odd hours. Simplicity quiets them. A short page that names the streams and their purpose can lower the pulse more reliably than another hour spent in anxious scrolling. In that quiet, the next wise step often appears without strain. The body carries memory. It remembers the year a single client left and the floor gave way. It remembers the moment a job ended and identity felt like smoke. Multiplicity rewrites that memory by degrees. The first new stream is a breath. The second is a longer breath. The third begins to sound like music. Not all streams must be large. Many streams are small and faithful. Together, they become weatherproof. Together, they allow you to learn without gambling your peace. Together, they make room for you to be human, to have sick days and slow days and days for grief and still be held. Generosity belongs in this chapter because risk is not only about math. It is also about the shape of the heart that holds the math. An open hand changes the meaning of abundance. It makes you a source in the world rather than a drain. It attracts counsel you did not know you needed and friendship that is not for sale. It aligns your sense of worth with something deeper than wins and larger than losses. In hard seasons, it becomes a signal that says you are still the same person. In fruitful seasons, it becomes a safeguard against the quiet arrogance that isolates. Think again of the village of storehouses at dusk. Lamps are lit along the path. The doors stand ready. A child runs from one to another and marvels that each smells different. The baker speaks softly with the miller. The elders lean on their canes and praise the weather, not because it is perfect, but because the village learned how to live in all kinds. This is the feeling of resilience. It is not fearless. It is not reckless. It is prepared. It is humble. It is free enough to stay calm when the wind changes. A gentle question lingers as the light fades. Where is your prosperity standing on one leg? And a second question, like a friend at your side. Which small stream could join the others until no single wave can knock them all down? A hush often enters the room when the word debt rises, a quiet that carries the weight of interest and the memory of sleepless nights. The body remembers the letters, the due dates, the private negotiations with tomorrow, chest a little tight, breath a little shallow, thoughts flickering between what must be paid and what cannot be postponed. This chapter does not come to accuse. It comes to loosen the knot and offer a wiser way to hold agreements so that your life is not shaped by pressure, but by purpose. An ancient line says the borrower serves the lender. It does not threaten, it describes. Debt rearranges power inside a life. It appoints a master and a servant. Treated lightly, it becomes a quiet ruler in the background, changing how choices feel and how time is priced. Treated with reverence, it can be a tool within a covenant, a promise that respects both parties and preserves dignity on both sides. The difference is discernment. The difference is order. The difference is a heart that will not trade sovereignty for speed. Emotional neuroscience gives words to what the soul already senses. When obligations exceed capacity, the inner alarms rise. The amygdala scans for threats. The mind narrows to short horizons. Decisions tilt toward relief at any cost. When obligations are right-sized and clearly understood, the alarms quiet. The prefrontal mind returns. Patterns appear. You choose not to escape but to build. Peace does not remove effort. Peace gives effort a clear path and a steady hand. Think of agreements as scales at the city gate, balanced by more than numbers. On one side sits money. On the other side sits time, attention, energy, and the unseen weight of your future choices. A wise covenant does not tip those scales with flattery or hurry. It weighs with patience. It asks whether the promise you are entering will increase your mastery or your dependence. It asks whether the price you pay will leave your soul smaller or stronger. It asks in daylight, and it waits for a clear answer. There are moments when financing can serve a clear, generous design, only when the cash flow is undeniable under sober math, only when real collateral stands behind the promise, only when a margin of safety protects you if weather turns. This is not fear, this is stewardship. It is how you keep today from borrowing peace from tomorrow. It is how you ensure that the house you are building will still be your house when the season changes. Some simple measures guard that stewardship. Let the obligation be backed by an asset that holds its own worth. Let the income that pays it cover the payment by at least 1.5 times, even after you have accounted for expenses with humility. Let your own equity be real, not imagined. No less than 1/5 and closer to 1/3, so that you are not a visitor in the house of your own dream. Let there be a second door, a clean exit plan, so that pride does not force you to stay where wisdom would leave. There is a small rule that protects the heart from financing feelings. If a purchase will not matter in 10 weeks or 10 months or 10 years, it is unworthy of a covenant. Desire often burns bright and short, meaning burns steady and long. When the urge feels urgent, breathe and let time test it. The breath costs nothing and often saves much. This is not denial. It is kindness to your future self, who must wake and carry what your present self signs. Many have found strength in a season without new consumer debt. A quiet 90 days that restores the nervous system and lets wisdom speak without being drowned by offers. In that season, you discover that relief and peace are not the same. Relief quiets the noise for a moment. Peace changes the room. Relief spends what you have not yet earned. Peace earns what you used to spend. There is dignity in that exchange. There is beauty in hearing your own life slow to a livable pace. Ownership is not only a legal word, it is a posture in the soul. The owner inside you chooses structure over impulse, clarity over rush, and purpose over image. The owner remembers that money is a servant and not a judge. When an agreement is signed from that posture, it carries less fear, because you did not sell your future to buy a feeling. You partnered with reality to build something that can hold. The power dynamic of debt touches relationships as well. It shapes how you speak and how you are spoken to. It can shrink your voice or strengthen it. When obligations are wise and few, your yes means yes and your no means no. Respect grows around people who keep their word without bargaining their peace. Opportunities flow to the calm and the clear. Reputation becomes a form of capital that no rate can erode. There is a tenderness in all of this because money is entangled with our hopes, our histories, and our attempts to feel safe. Shame has no role here, only light and patience. You can look at every obligation with soft eyes and steady hands, asking whether it still serves the life you are called to live. If it does, honor it. If it does not, unwind it with grace. Freedom rarely arrives as a rescue. It arrives as a series of honest agreements kept and unhelpful agreements released. Picture the scales again at the gate. A merchant steps forward, then a farmer, then a craftsman. Each sets down what they carry. Each watches the beam settle. A fair weight brings quiet to the face. An unfair weight brings a shadow. In time, you will know the feeling before the numbers are even written. The body will tell you when the balance is true. The breath will tell you when it is not. A final question waits like a lantern near the door. Does this obligation increase my mastery or my dependence? The journey settles here like evening light, across a well-tended valley, soft enough to see everything clearly and steady enough to feel the shape of the path you have walked. There is no hurry in this light. There is no noise, only the deep relief that comes when wisdom carries the weight and wealth becomes an echo rather than a chase. What began as a question has become a way of seeing. The compass before the map, the seed before the robe, the plumb line before the palace, the storehouses standing side by side, the scales at the gate resting in honest balance. Wisdom before wealth has changed the posture of the heart, turning breathless pursuit into ordered choosing. The old reflex to sprint toward the prize has grown quieter, replaced by the steadier instinct to align with what remains true when applause fades. The body knows this shift. The shoulders rest lower, the gaze lifts farther, the pace widens until long horizons come back into view. Spiritual clarity met emotional steadiness, and together they made room for clean decisions to take root. Field before house has reordered the days, lifting production above presentation and capacity above comfort. The result is a foundation that carries you without demanding a constant performance. A simple reserve calms the inner alarms and turns panic into patience. Assets rise like honest companions, useful in storms and generous in sun. Joy returns without a bill hidden beneath it, because the house that shelters your life now stands on work that can hold. Character before capital has deepened the ground beneath every step. Integrity and diligence no longer feel like restraint. They feel like quiet power, the kind that does not glitter and does not need to. Small, upright actions have learned to rhyme with each other across seasons until they formed a steady music. The work sounds like a craft now. The results sound like trust. Wealth arrives and finds a house that does not need to hire anxiety to guard its doors. Risk mastered through multiplicity has given your future more than one way to be all right. Streams of provision take turns carrying the weight. Storehouses share both lean months and full ones. Dependence on a single outcome has loosened its grip, and with that release, the mind has stopped begging to be right about everything. It has started building so it does not need to be. Calm returned, and with it, the patience that keeps compounding alive. Debt held as covenant rather than convenience has restored the balance of power within your life. Agreements are measured by more than money. They are weighed alongside time and energy and the quiet cost to the soul that must keep them. Obligations now fit within the strength you actually have, not the image you wish to project. Some doors were closed with grace, others were opened with clarity. Ownership grew from posture before it became paper, and the voice inside you sounds like your own again. From field to treasury is more than a sequence. It is a way of being that protects what matters while it grows what is possible. First, the plow of discernment turning the soil of the mind until motives are clean and options are clear. Then the seed of daily practice falling into honest furrows and disappearing for a time so that deeper work can happen where no one is watching. Then the fence of understanding and diversification guarding what is growing so that seasons can change without erasing the harvest. Then the granary of patient structure holding the surplus so that joy does not become pressure. Then the palace of a life enjoyed without apology because it does not borrow from tomorrow to feel safe today. There is a softness to this wisdom that should not be mistaken for weakness. It speaks in calm tones because it does not need to shout. It chooses sequence over spectacle because it cares about the person who must live with the results. It remembers that money touches the nervous system as surely as the ledger, and it answers both with the same kindness. Peace is not a luxury item. Peace is architecture. It is the design that lets prosperity arrive without adding sorrow. The landscape ahead will still hold weather, markets will still breathe, needs will still knock at the door at inconvenient hours. None of this means the way has failed. It means you are alive. The difference now is that you are not standing on a single beam. The difference now is that your yes comes from clarity and your no comes from dignity. You are not trying to earn a place in your own life. You are living it with steadiness and care. Let this closing rest on a truth that feels as old as sunrise. Wealth that begins with wisdom keeps its promises. It does not rush you into a version of yourself that you cannot carry. It does not punish your sleep to perform for strangers. It does not ask you to trade peace for speed. It grows like a tree planted by water, slow at first, and then undeniable, rooted deep enough to hold when the wind turns. A final question remains, like a gentle bell in the distance. When the noise fades and only wisdom speaks, what small, honest choice belongs to the coming day that would, repeated over many days, change the story you are living?